Hello, guys, and welcome to episode 2 of the Twisted Bard Gaming Podcast. I am your host, Tyler, and joined with me is one new person, and then the two you saw last time. But the new person that's with us this week is Paddy. Paddy, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Been a pretty long day. Glad to be recording, though. So the same thing we kind of did last week, except different questions. So, Paddy, what's the game that you've put the most time into out of any game or any console ever?
Okay, well, I mean, it's probably going to be one that a lot of people would have the same answer for, but it's Skyrim, Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. I had that on the PS3. I played that to death. I loved it. Did everything that you can do pretty much. And then it came out on PS4 in the remastered edition, and I thought, nah, I'm not doing this again. I can't fall down that rabbit hole again. Then it was on sale, and I bought it. And then I was like, I'll just put it away, put it on my shelf, and then there was nothing to play. And now I have the Platinum Trophy on the PS4. So, I mean, I don't know how many hundreds of hours, but it's my shame. But it was so good.
That is a great game. I put so many hours into it. I played it all on Steam, and I did most of it like offline on my computer because I was like off working, I think, at the time when I got it. And then, so I put hundreds of hours into it then, and then the remaster came out, but because I had it on Steam and I had the Legendary Edition, I got the remaster for free, so then I did basically the same thing. I was like, I don't need to play it again, and then I was like, oh, but it's free, and now I have it, and now it's installed. I might
and there's
as well.
nothing happening right now. No new games. I'll just put it in and see what happens. And you sit there like,
and then you're like
3 weeks
200
later,
hours again later. You're like, oh my gosh, this game never ends. But yeah, that's a good game. A good game to put a lot of hours in. Also joining us this week is Rob. Rob, how are you doing?
I am doing very well, actually, and I sounded a lot more enthusiastic than what I actually meant it to be. So,
welcome to this business meeting. I'm very good, thank you. How
are you? Rob, so same question. What's the game you spent the most time playing?
I think the game that I've literally put the most hours into is a Dreamcast game, which was called Phantasy Star Online. If any of you guys have heard of that,
we're not that old.
I know, right? Phantasy Star Online was like one of the very first like MMO RPGs really that was like on a console, because obviously like the Dreamcast you could go online with. So this is sort of pre PlayStation 2 time where like you're playing sort of online, and it was very much a new thing for me because I wasn't a PC person, so it was all like a new medium. And like I remember I bought a I don't remember it being a USB because I don't think a USB was a thing at the time, but I remember I used to have to like I bought a Dreamcast a keyboard to be able to talk to people, because obviously like there was no voice chat and stuff. So yeah, that was like a really good game. Well, I suppose it was like a pretty good game, but just like the novelty of it being online was like blew my mind. And I used to Skype from school.
Yeah, I feel like that was probably one of those games where the fact that it was online and you could kind of communicate with people was just like a crazy thing at the time. So that's why it was so huge. Like, if I think back to like when I started playing RuneScape, the idea of playing with like other people playing live the same time as me, and I can see all their movements and see everything that they say, was just like crazy to me at the time, coming from only playing like Super Nintendo games and that kind of stuff at the time. So it's like it makes sense that game would have just been huge because it was huge at the time, I guess, to be able to play online with other people, and kind of a crazy concept of being able to chat with them live when the internet wasn't as huge, I guess, as it is now. So I can imagine it being a pretty huge game. Also joining us this week is Alistar. Alistar, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thought you forgot about me for a bit.
No, I did not forget about you. I did think I was going to go in a separate order, but then I just said Rob's name when I introduced the second person, so that was kind of weird. But
I did wait for the cue, and Rob, I have heard of Phantasy Star Online, so but you're still old, so that joke stands. Yeah, it's going to hit you where it hurts.
My feelings.
But what game have you put the most time into?
Over the years, it's almost impossible to say. Counter-Strike Source may make it, but I did a little digging, and I'm just going to say this because I'm so proud of it. I have played 7 Days to Die for 7 days. So that is what I'm going for.
I did literally laugh out loud when you sent me that because I was like, well, I guess it's done now.
A real life lol. One can only dream.
Yeah, it was good. True. But yeah, that's actually a pretty good game. It's in terms of games that I put the most time into, I'm pretty sure I have like just over 700 hours in Rocket League, so that's like horrible but awesome at the same time. But yeah, that's exactly like I think it's like 30 something days, so like an entire month of my life I've played Rocket League. That's probably not super accurate. I should probably get like a real accurate number of like how many games I played and then the average game time. And it'd probably be way less because most of the time it just sits open on my desktop. But it's probably still like at least 400, 500 hours in that game that I've played. But
wow,
it's a lot of time. But then the runner-up would be Rust, which is like really similar to 7 Days to Die, where like just the online mechanic of that game, when I got it, I was just immediately hooked. So many hours into that game. I don't even know how many, but those are all really fun games. A lot of games, like, I mean, a lot of them we probably could all say we've played, and they're really good. So it makes sense. But anyways, moving on to the biggest chunk of this podcast, which is the news. We have a couple big topics, a couple small topics to talk about today, but we'll just start out with an article about Sega, and I think Rob, you wanted to talk about this?
Yeah. There was some news coming out from Sega where there was a board meeting, and out of that board meeting there was I think mention of them like reviving some of their like older major IPs, which obviously got quite a lot of fans and stuff quite excited. So yeah, that's pretty much the news. Sorry, I completely I lost my way there. Yeah,
that's the old mind for you.
Yeah, that's. I'm just.
What are we doing?
I know. I didn't know if we were going on to Sega first. All right, I'll cut this bit out and I'll restitch it. But
it stays in.
It stays in how it is.
We don't cut things in this show.
Genuine or like a get out. So all right, now I've got the article in front of me. So yeah, they released their financial results, and basically inside that there was a presentation where they're going to work harder on their digital game field, which weirdly enough includes Fantasy Star Online 2, which was like the game that I was just talking about, like the first one. I haven't played the second one yet because it's only out in Japan, so I don't know what that's like at all. And from what I understand, I think it's a free to play game, which well, for me, like I'm a little bit sort of reserved on that anyway. But like the real big bit that I wanted to talk about is one of the points they put like around the packaged game field, which sort of includes like their console and PC games, is they're going to try and challenge for new IPs, and they're going to try and revive some of the older IPs. For me, obviously, I think I made quite clear last week. I was a big fan of Shenmue or Shenmue when that come out. Well, on the Dreamcast, I'm really pleased that there's a third one being made. I'd love them to do HD remakes for like the first and the second one, and I know that's a campaign that's been going on from the fan side for pretty much since the third game was said to be kickstarted. That pretty much kickstarted the campaign to get the HD remakes made. Also, I'd quite like to see a return of Shinobi. I don't know if anyone remembers that one, but that was like a ninja, a platformer. It was really quite hard, but really also very tight and very popular. I'd quite like to see that come back either in the form of a HD remake or just like a complete reboot, but also still like a 2D platformer. And I suppose if I was going to be really ambitious, if anyone ever remembers, if they used to go into older arcades and stuff, there was a sort of a fighter pilot game called Afterburner. And Afterburner, I would really like to see a VR version of that, because I think VR, I know they're having a lot of problems trying to work out motion and all that sort of stuff, but I think sort of a cockpit sort of a game's like a perfect for a VR, and sort of Afterburner was a really sort of a tight sort of a plane shooter like in the arcades, and I think that's something that could come back, because I think there's obviously the I have to admit I can't remember it from the top of my head, but what is the a fighter plane, a game that's coming out on PlayStation for the PlayStation VR? I'm not sure, like if it's out, or is it Ace Combat?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
isn't that like a squadron or something?
Yeah, something like that. That's the only one that I can think of that's actually like sort of in the work for PlayStation VR, and I'd like to see Sega try.
I mean, you think any kind of like pilot simulator, any kind of that kind of thing would work really well on VR. I mean, that's one of the things that you'd imagine would really help sell that concept.
And perhaps I'm showing really how really old I am here, but the Toe Jam and L as well. I want to see that back, because that was old school and that was awesome.
I don't think you're the only one that wants to see that game come back, though. Like as much as it is a weird game, I think there's a lot of people that would want to see a second one or a revive of that franchise on a modern console. So even though it's a very odd game to say the least, but I think there's a lot of people that would really like it. Do you guys have any? I mean, besides Rob, who just talked about this, did Paddy or Alistar have any like huge Sega franchises that you'd like to see come back?
I mean, I would love to see Echo the Dolphin have a third in the series. I think there's already 2. It was a weird, basic. I'm just going to call it a weird game, and I thoroughly enjoyed it and would love to see a third, because you are just a dolphin swimming through and doing shit. It's like the
perfect.
Yeah, the perfect game in a sense. And another one, Company of Heroes. I would love to see that. I would love to see another version of that, because 1 and 2 were amazing in my books. I've sunk, again, going back to the beginning question, I sunk many, many hours into both of those games, and would love to see another iteration of it, and hopefully bring it similar to what they've done with the Total War games. Because they've released the new Total War Warhammer, which I've played out, and it's incredibly fun. They've put a hell of a lot of effort into trying to get as many units onto the field as possible, and all the sort of different mechanics, the wizardry, and all the different units having different abilities. They've put a lot of effort into that, and it looks good that if Sega can kind of get their arse in gear for a few of these series, they could actually revive and make a lot of these older games that we used to enjoy a hell of a lot better, like Bayonetta, House of the Dead, Crazy Taxi. The list could go on.
Yeah, I mean, how likely do you think we are to actually see kind of games like that? Because in the article they mentioned moving away from the middle-sized hits to trying to get those big hits, and like, so I mean, what do you think would be actual? Because I mean, I wasn't a Sega kid, so I don't really have many of these games like in my past, so I don't really know. When they say revive dormant IP, if they're going for kind of really big games that are going to make them a lot of money, like really AAA stuff, like I don't see like a simulator game or, you know, like a 2D platform. I just don't see that being that big thing that's like, we're Sega, we're back in AAA development, because that's what it sounds like they're going for, like AAA games that go, you know, PC, Switch, Xbox, PS4, like the whole thing.
I mean, to be fair, like you could take this is the issue that if you talk about reviving like any of their old sort of IP, so we talk about like a Streets of Rage, we talk about a Jet Set Radio. There's so many older ones in there, but obviously due to the fact that they were sort of limited by their time, means that you either got to rebuild it from the ground up and, you know, try a transition like a 2D game like into a 3D game to try and push into like a AAA sort of area, or you try and hit that sort of a nostalgia bone and try and cash in on the hardcore fans that have been trying to ask a Sega for years and years and years to sort of bring out all of these huge IPs that they've been sitting on, and like instead they've just been churning out a Sonic after Sonic after Sonic, which obviously each time they try and push Sonic to be like a AAA game, and they always seem to push it too hard, and it just always seems to come up short.
Do they have any internal studio?
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but I imagine they do.
Or do they? Yeah, okay. Or do they deal with like smaller studios? I mean, do they publish mostly these days?
Yeah. I mean, they do mostly publish, but they definitely do develop their own games.
Okay, because I mean, you could see them handing stuff off. You could see them handing stuff off to like trying to pick out really relevant studios that might be able to bring stuff back for them.
Absolutely. I mean, it'll be really good to see a sort of a very reputable. Yeah, that word.
Rob just had a stroke, ladies and gentlemen.
A developer come up and take one of their like a glorious IPs, because they've got so many really good ones here that have already got that core fan base, which is usually people who fit into my sort of a demographic, sort of like people who are now a plus 30, sort of children of the 90s and all that. They will be very much bought into that. But like you've got to get like the right people on board and not keep repeating the same sort of mistakes that they seem to do over and over again, which is sort of it's been really hard. Well, like I'm not sure if the word's hard. It's been really disappointing as a Sega fan from the 90s just to watch them over the past 20 years slowly sort of wither, and now they're just pretty much a mobile game a developer. And they've got Total War, they've got a manager sort of loosely. They've got a few things, but nothing really big in a AAA out there, and nowhere near like some of the big games that are out there now. And I'd like to see them have a stab at it with like any of the IPs that we've talked about. But in order to do that, they obviously, like as you say, they can't just do loads of the HD remasters. They've got to take those core ideas and core concepts and flesh them out into a marketable AAA game.
Yeah, just like make good games, because like Sega doesn't. I don't know. I just don't think Sega means that much in that way to people anymore. So yeah, building on that nostalgia to really and make good stuff. I think that's what it will come down to.
But they say they're going to revive these sort of big successful IPs, but the big franchises are still going. Like there's a new Sonic game coming out. Total War's just come out. I think a new Yakuza's just come out. The Shenmue, Puyo Puyo, like all these sort of big games. Persona 5 that they have. That all the successful franchises are having or have just had a recent release. So I mean, I don't know what big franchise that they're going to revive, because most of their big ones are still going.
Yeah, I mean, excuse me. As I read through like all of like Sega's IPs that they own, none of them really like jump out to me as like, oh yeah, they really need to remake that game. Like Shinobi, yeah, like it'd be sweet. Toe Jammer, obviously that would be sweet if they made one of those. A Shenmue, obviously we want one of those as well. But none of them stick out to me. Like if they made that, it would be a huge hit. So when they say they're gonna revive an old IP and make it like this huge hit, I don't know what exactly they're referring to. So I guess it'll be interesting to see where they decide to jump in on that. I mean, I could picture them jumping in on Super Monkey Ball. Super Monkey Ball could be a big hit on the Switch.
That could be a good VR game as well.
Yeah.
That would be a crazy VR game. That would be actually fun.
They'll be sick everywhere.
Yeah, but it'd be worth it for a Super Monkey Ball time.
I'm a monkey in a ball rolling down a hill. That'll be really good for you, like your nausea.
I mean, I played that game so much on the GameCube. haven't played it since, but I loved that game, and I was surprised to see it was still going.
Yeah, like none of their IPs really like jump out as like, yeah, this is exactly the one they need to revive. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see what exactly their plan is with that, and I guess we'll just go from there, because I don't see any of them that stand out as they need to release this game. Like you guys were saying, they basically, a lot of their huge hits are still going. Like they haven't stopped making those games. So I don't know where they're gonna revive an IP exactly. But I think if they do revive a couple of their old games, they'll still be at least semi good hits. So either way, it's a good idea, regardless of which one they decide to release.
I just think they just need to cut out releasing games that they know are not up to quality, really. And like Paddy said, like if they can outsource other IPs to developers that are proven, then yeah, like you might actually see a Sega turn out to be one of those publishers that you actually sit there and think, oh, actually, they make quality games. I'd love to see
also
that.
like they're I guess the biggest game that's out right now, like Persona 5, like that's really kind of buried the Sega connection, because I mean it's Atlas, and Atlas are kind of owned, I think, by Sega. So you don't. It's just another one of those things where you don't link Sega and massive franchises right now. So I think they probably want to be in that conversation. You know, when you talk about like Metal Gear Solid and Konami, or like, I don't know, Mario, Nintendo. You know, they want to be in that conversation of massive publisher, massive developer making, you know, huge games.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. In order to be a big name in publishers, you really need like a huge title to stand behind. Like, I feel like most publishers have that one title. I mean, they make a lot of great games, but there's always going to be one that they stand behind is what really makes them who they are. And a lot of publishers, I feel like, have that game. And Sega has Sonic, but they've messed it up so many times that you can't really stand behind it anymore. Like, it is their big hit, but it's also been a lot of misses in that franchise. So I think they know that, and they don't want to stand behind that anymore. So they're prepared to just move on to something else.
Yeah, like as much as I am kind of hopeful from what I've seen of Sonic Mania, and if this is like a new look Sega, yeah, they're doing a new 3D Sonic this year. I will wait and see. It looks very close to Sonic Generations, which was actually since I'd suppose a Sonic Adventure has been the only Sonic game that's actually been sort of any good, and it looks like they're trying to capture what they did with that game with the new, I can't remember what is it, Sonic Forces, I think it's called, the new one. So for me, I mean, I'm still holding out until I actually see it and I can form like an actual opinion from it. But if this doesn't work, and if this one does a flop, I say they drop Sonic for at least 5 years.
Yeah, it would be good for them to take a break for sure. But I guess we'll just wait to see what games they decide to release coming up, and we'll see what they decide to do. But speaking of games that are hopefully being released, Ubisoft has announced a few games that they're looking to throw out. They announced quite a few of them in like the past few days or a week and a half-ish probably. Paddy, did you want to talk about those games?
Yeah, so I mean, you know, you'd think, what are we, like a few weeks away from E3? You'd kind of think that would be the place to do your big announcements, but Ubisoft have a terrible track record in keeping things quiet, which is, you know, why we already know what Assassin's Creed is called, and we're, you know, Assassin's Creed Origins, and it's going to be set in Egypt. Like, they are terrible at keeping their secrets. So I guess it makes sense for them to get out ahead of the inevitable leaks and just put some games out there. So they announced that Far Cry 5, Assassin's Creed, The Crew 2, and South Park, The Fractured But Whole, will all be releasing in this current fiscal year. So before April 2018, basically, we'll have those 4 games from then. And I think they also announced that there's a new IP which they've pushed into the next fiscal year. It's so exciting in video games, we get to talk about fiscal years now. But they'll have a new IP coming up sometime then, which I guess they probably won't even talk about at E3, but it wouldn't be surprising if it was another Tom Clancy or that kind of game. But yeah, no, it's really, really cool that I'm actually really surprised to see both Far Cry 5 and Assassin's Creed coming out like so soon. I kind of thought that they would almost alternate those. So you'd kind of have those every fall, the kind of end of year, you'd have a Far Cry or an Assassin's Creed. So it's interesting that they're going to be coming out within a few months of each other.
When did the Tribal come out?
Oh, Primal.
Yeah,
that was.
Yeah,
I think that was, when was that? Middle of last year, sometime.
Was it last year or was it the year before?
It might have been the year before. Let me look it up.
I can't remember. I think maybe the year before might have been the Far Cry 4, and then last year might have been a Primal.
Yeah, no, Primal was really good. It came out in February last year. Yeah. So yeah, it's been a while since we've had like a proper Far Cry entry. But yeah, no, it's really cool.
How did you enjoy Far Cry 4 and sort of like obviously the fact it hadn't really moved on too much from the Far Cry 3?
Yeah, to be honest, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, Far Cry 3 was so good that it's actually not so much of a big deal. It's like, oh, here's another playground to just go and have fun with.
Yeah, that is pretty much where I was on it. It was I heard a lot of people going, "Oh, it's pretty much just a clone of a Far Cry 3," which I didn't really see as a bad thing. I really enjoyed a Far Cry 3, and like if something works, then yeah, awesome.
Yeah, and there was a huge buzz around this one that it was going to be like a prequel or a sequel to Far Cry 3 because like Ubisoft sent out a tweet with a Rock Island just going, remember this, you'll be seeing it again or some crap like that, and everyone went, oh my god, Far Cry 5 is going to be linked to Far Cry 3, and then Ubisoft backtracked and went, no, we were just going to like a throwback Thursday type thing. Like it's not going to happen.
What sort of things would you like to see in a new Far Cry game?
I mean, it's, you know how you kind of try and use, like I'm just staring at the logo, like which is kind of the stencil out thing with these really cool, just little hints of color around the, you know, it's kind of blue around the Far Cry and then kind of red around the 5. So you're trying to glean whatever you can out of that. It kind of looks a little bit like futuristic-y. I hope not. Like I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it like set in space. Yeah, I don't really want sci-fi like anything like that. But to be honest, it'd be cool to see something maybe a little bit more urban. But then I really love the kind of the island setting. I think that's really cool.
I mean, I did a little bit of digging around this, and like a lot of people seem to think it's going to be set in Montana in the US, because apparently some scout teams have been have kind of blown their cover, so to say. Have been like talking to people out in Montana, scouting the area, looking at the terrain and all that shit. And if you look at the terrain and the wildlife that are in and around Montana, it's a very Far Cry-esque style. So a lot of people think it's going to be set there.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be fine with that. Is that kind of like more of a desert setting, or you've obviously done some digging into the Montana, you know, flora and fauna. So tell us about it.
Oh, it's got mountain ranges and the forests, which are very similar to sort of Far Cry 4. It's got the open plains. A lot of people think it might be kind of a Western style thing.
I was about to say,
that would be hilarious.
What would be the threat in there? I mean, what would obviously it's kind of, I know it's kind of like a stereotypical kind of a done thing and very much like the action film sort of the 80s that like the hero heads to the island and, you know, the people with like like the natives there, they're like the evil sort of army, and there's like a rebellion there, plus you've got like the rebels, and that's kind of like the structure it has followed for the past two. Do you think they'll move away from that and sort of try and create a new structure so it's not like a rebellion, because that's pretty much has been the core sort of outside of the character and sort of and growing into the a warrior like and all that kind of side of it. It's all based around sort of that. Yeah,
I mean, you know there's going to be that really iconic probably villain, or maybe, you know, side character, you know, like the Vaz, or I can't remember the name of the guy in Far Cry 4, but like, you know, that really, really well written, well scripted, like really well
Pagan
performed.
Min.
Yeah, Pagan Min, by Troy Baker. It was just really, really like well done, like really ominous, really just good villains. So you know that's going to be there. But yeah, it would be nice to see a different take on the formula. So you're not just like, I'm a random dude, and then you end it with, you know, I'm a like mass murdering warlord type thing. Thinking about it now, like my ideal scenario for the next Far Cry would be basically your character is like a Tropic Thunder style action hero, dropped into, some crazy war zone or something, and because I mean they're going to be, it's going to be over the top, it's going to be ridiculous. So
something like a Vietnam or like that. Something.
Yeah, that would just be like, can you imagine? Just like
yeah.
Well, that was, I think, one of the options, because again, doing with leaks, there was a supposed leaked survey back in 2015, which kind of showed the part, like, what would you like the next Far Cry game to be? I think one was like Alaska wilderness survival, one was future sci-fi off on another planet, one was the Vietnam War, cocaine trafficking in the Peru jungle, vampires, spaghetti western in the 19th century America, zombie outbreak, Blood Dragon 2, post-apocalyptic Mad Max style world, modern day Jurassic Park, and like continuing on from Shangri-La.
If they could do a Dragon 2, not as a release, but as like a DLC to Far Cry 5, like I would be on board with that. That was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, this is a series that just doesn't take itself seriously, right? That's the fun part. Like they did Blood Dragon, and then they were just like, let's just do a caveman setting, and Primal is actually really good. I love that game. I really enjoyed it. So I mean, they can do. I mean, I really don't need this to be different.
Yeah, because
to enjoy it.
They love like just working on the myths, don't they? Like the Yeti, and this is literally like shoestring strength, trustworthiness, or however you want to put it. Like, but they're apparently a film crew, like filming, could be possibly linked to Ubisoft, was in like a church filming like maybe a live action advert, and that's the same church that this like a mythical goat man supposedly is linked to. So people think maybe if it is in Montana, then a goat man may be appearing. But this is literally just the loosest connection I've ever seen. But I love it too much, and I want it to be.
Honest, do you have like a board up on your wall with like red strings and like trying to piece all these things together? I mean, you really are the Julian Assange of this group.
Yeah, no, there's there's a triangle.
With all our faces there. All our faces on it.
Where is the goat man?
And our locations.
So far, I have Rob, a question mark, and lizard people. So I'm getting close to you, Rob.
It's me. Like all you got to do is ask. Like I'll confess, it's me. Yeah, done.
I mean, I've never seen you and a lizard person in the same room at the same time. So
that is true.
That's all I'm gonna say.
So, did any of you guys play on the crew?
No.
I did.
I mean, it's. I guess it's cool. Like, wasn't it like all of the United States was the map, and you could just drive around and go to different. From what I remember,
it was a large portion, and yeah, you drive around it in a crew, I suppose. Supposed to be like a social experience. I have to admit, I don't feel like I can talk about what the second one could or like would be.
I imagine bigger area, more ways to interconnect with your friends and connect with people in this interconnected world. Tyler,
it's basically gonna be Forza Horizon 2, except just different.
Yeah.
That's what it's really gonna be like. Forza, you can jump in with your friends at any time. That's gonna have the same thing where you can just like seamlessly join other people's games. It'll probably not be the United States, I would imagine. Otherwise, that would be weird if they did it again. So it'll probably be
to the UK. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. I imagine it would probably be somewhere either like Europe. They probably wouldn't do Australia since Forza just did that. So it's gonna either be like Europe, Russia, or China, probably. I would assume so. But it's gonna be a huge map.
The roads in the UK are pretty boring. Like you got the M1.
Yeah, the crew 2, the M4.
The M4 and Junction 12.
They're exactly the same.
Drive from Slough to Newcastle on one map.
I bet like Tyler doesn't know what either of those places are.
I have no idea.
Yeah, but yeah, from those announcements, I think for me we know it's coming, but I am actually really jazzed for Assassin's Creed this time. I really like the series. I thought the Syndicate, the one in London, was actually really good after the terrible game that was Assassin's Creed Unity. So the fact that they've taken some real time off, and I actually think I wouldn't be surprised if Assassin's Creed was the one that came out towards this time next year. Because they did say, I think they said a little while ago that if it wasn't ready, they're not going to push it. They're not going to force it out. They're just going to wait until it's ready. And I really think it could be really, really awesome. I think it's made by the same core team that did Black Flag. Yeah.
Because they're bringing back naval combat.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
With the amount of leaks that Ubisoft have, that's probably not a good idea. Every boat would sink.
God.
Oh god,
No.
there's more of this.
From what I
So
from what I
bad,
read, I
it's
mean,
good.
like, I could be wrong. Am I right in thinking that the naval combat was just really very small boats, or not?
It looked like it. I mean,
Yeah, not
from
like-
that one picture, it looked more like kind of a longboat. I mean, this is going back in time a long.
Yeah, it's going
Wait,
back
this
to
is-
Egypt.
this
We're
is
not going
ancient
back to
Egypt,
pirate
yeah.
age, are we? So
Yeah, exactly.
it's not going to be that sort of a naval combat. But for me, like, yeah, I'm really pleased to see it back. And yeah, like, you're totally right. If they need to spend more time sort of finishing it off, then like they need to take that after some of the really bad launches that they have, like pretty much like on every single game they bring out. But
Yeah, and it's a fantastic concept that gives them just license to go wherever
Yeah.
they want and do whatever they want. So
and not just that. Since since I suppose you can say since as Syndicate, but even like you can even argue that since really like Assassin's Creed Unity, like quite a lot of changes have happened, like in the open world sort of a space. Like you've got things that have come out such as The Witcher, sort of a Breath of the Wild, things that have been sort of really held up high and go, actually, this is how you do like an open world gaming. And I really hope that during this break that they weren't so far down the development sort of a line that they couldn't learn the lessons that they've been taught and been sort of schooled by what else is being done out there.
yeah, and the rumors all point to less linear, more open world, more RPG, more kind of Skyrim-y, that Witcher style progression for the game, which would be, I guess, pretty brave for a series that kind of also targets the more casual gamer. I mean, it's one of those, you buy FIFA, you buy COD, and you buy Assassin's Creed. Those are the 3 games you buy all year. So it'd be kind of brave, I think, for them to do that. But like, really excited to see what they've been working on.
Yeah, because in amongst the rumors, they said like an actual eagle replaces like the towers you climb for your eagle vision. So you kind of put that up and it kind of scans the area for you, and that kind of replaces the having to climb up a big ass tower, sit on a perch, go, I can see everything from here. Now I've got the map.
But
As long as it ties in with Ubisoft's VR game Eagle Flight, then I'm happy with that.
But I quite like to climb towers.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Robert's dead.
I quite enjoyed that.
Yeah, the going up was always good. The coming down
Yeah,
was
I
less.
always just got fond memories of climbing around like Venice and things like that, like really, really tall structures and getting all the glyphs and all that kind of stuff, man. Like,
Yeah, I mean that series was like one of the first times I could show my mother that gaming isn't this terrible thing. It's like,
Yeah.
look, you love Venice and Florence and
culture, mum,
you've
culture.
always wanted to go to Istanbul. Look, I'm standing on top of the most
it's like we're here
sacred
now.
place in Istanbul.
Just ignore me stabbing this guy repeatedly. But look, culture.
Culture.
No, I mean, Egypt is a huge, like, there's a lot you can do with that setting and that time in history. So I really hope that they capitalize on that, because I feel like there's a ton they can do. And I hope they really take advantage of it, because you can't go back to Egypt after you've made one game of Assassin's Creed. So I really hope they nail it, because this is a great chunk of history, where a game that's kind of been built around sort of telling history while playing a game that's completely ridiculous and not tied to it at all. I really hope they can do a good job in this with this game, especially since they took a long time off and they don't seem to be rushing it out or anything like that. So I'm really hoping that they really do a good job with this one, and that they kind of keep up this trend that they have of waiting to release them, and they don't just go back to pounding them out year after year until they die out again.
Yeah, exactly. And like the naval combat would be in the Mediterranean, so this might be more than Egypt. This might be, it kind of might end up in Rome for a little bit, or they might jump around, which it's all, or ancient Greece even. Who knows what they can. There's quite a lot of scope to play with there.
Didn't I hear a rumor again? Again, I could be completely wrong. I remember reading something about them possibly having some part of it in World War Two. Am I making that up, or am I?
I mean, that was in. I mean, there was some of that in Syndicate. Like you could jump through basically a portal, and it was just London again, but during the Blitz.
Oh, okay. I mean, like it might be something like along the lines.
So
of
they
that,
could have something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'd quite like to see him. I mean, I have to admit, I didn't play a Syndicate, so I didn't really sort of get to see like a lot of that. But what I'd quite as much as people used to whinge about it, I'd quite like him to go back to how it was with the Desmond and Miles sort of a story and all of that and all of what was happening there. As much as kind of like Assassin's Creed 3 kind of sort of bombed it into the ground. A lot up until that point, I was pretty much bought into the story.
I think, well, one of the rumors was that, again, another rumor. I love my rumors, that like they're giving the like future characters actually now like there's going to be another major character, like a bit of a story there as well. So I think they may be bringing it back, but I'm not sure on that.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. I mean, I really liked what they did. I can't remember if it was Syndicate or Unity, where I think it's maybe Syndicate, where like basically you are working for Abstergo.
Wasn't that in the Black Flag?
Yeah, that too. Yeah, you kind of you're wandering around like the actual offices and stuff, and they've been doing that, and they've kind of kept those like Desmond's crew around, like the I can't remember the name of the English guy and
Sean.
Like,
I want to say Sean.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. So they've been kind of kept around. So yeah, I'd love like an actual modern part of the story, because I didn't get the hate for Desmond. Okay, they messed it up at the end, but you know, this is video games.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, I don't think they could have done much else with where that story was going. But at the same time, I mean, I still got goosebumps at the end of the second one, where I can't remember her name, a Mirtha or one of those spiritual beings that turned around to the camera and actually spoke to Desmond through sort of Ezio, and all those kind of moments. Those were so bloody cool.
They were really clever.
Yeah, they were really cool and really clever. And I know people like I remember reading things back in the day, and I remember people whinging about like all of the modern day stuff. And I think Ubisoft took that on board and just stripped out after the sort of backlash from the third one. But like, I want to see it back.
Yeah, I mean there was a lot of really good moments in Assassin's Creed 2, and even in Assassin's Creed 3 there was still some really great moments where they do a really good job at building story. Like even if in 3 they didn't have a huge story and they kind of really, I don't even know what they were going for in the end, there was still moments where you're like, yeah, this is good, like, and I'm into the story. Like in 2, the whole time I was fully immersed, like I was fully committed to that story. I was like, yeah, I can get behind this.
I think the one where I was most impressed with how they handled the modern day was, I think it was a Brotherhood, where you're pretty much in Montenegro, where you're in like the homestead for like the previous game, and you had your own like little sandbox you could explore like in a modern day that had its own little secrets and stuff. That was just awesome. It doesn't have to be huge, and I think Revelations was where it was all in like he was like in the Animus, and it was all a bit weird. But yeah, like I remember Brotherhood, like the crew in the old Auditore Manor, and you could jump around with the buildings that were in the previous game. Yeah, brill.
Yeah, it was really cool. And I wouldn't be surprised if the modern aspect of the game wasn't more kind of like you're an actual assassin. So you'll have things to do in a modern setting. You won't just be kind of, all you can do is kind of walk and jump. Like there might actually be missions in the modern setting.
Yeah, it would be cool to see them do something with you jumping back and forth in time, because I felt like before you could do that, but there wasn't much to it. It just kind of helped push the story along a little bit, and fill in the gaps. So it'd be cool if they fully committed to doing something with that.
Yeah, it's that hard thing, isn't it? Because obviously it's that old problem of how do the modern day assassins fit into sort of how they operate, and obviously jumping off buildings and stabbing people in the throat is really cool, but not very practical. And they've got like a sort of like M16 and things like that. So I think it's that old thing that they've kind of not really ever touched upon how that actually works. What like the assassins do now, like in the modern day, which mean outside of like 3 people are driving around like fucking the Scooby-Doo. What training, what is all this leading up to? And I think if they can give, like you say, perhaps not like the sandbox, let's climb around this area like we do like in the olden days, but at least as something where you feel like a badass as opposed to a gym like who works at the office. That's what I quite like to see. Actually, someone who's actually got a bit of a substance to them, and from a gameplay point of view. I mean, I'm still thinking about the end of like Assassin's Creed 2, where the credits are rolling down, and I personally thought like the game was all over, but then you have that fight in I think it's in a car park or something, and that, even though it didn't make sense because none of them had sort of guns on them, I really sort of enjoyed just stabbing all of them. It was fun.
Yeah, I mean, if the future sections could be basically Splinter Cell, that would be great.
That would be great to see that back as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Anyway, but that is perhaps a conversation for a different day.
Yeah, they could just have Nathan Drake as the one that goes back in time into Egypt, and then you fast forward and you're just Nathan Drake. So Ubisoft, when you do use that idea, please, I'll give you my email address, and you can just mail me a check for it. That's fine.
Assassin's Uncharted.
So which you chaps had a South Park, the Stick of Truth?
No, didn't have it. Wanted it, played it I think briefly, but wasn't able to finish it.
Anyone else?
Nope, saw it, never touched it.
Tyler?
Never.
Really?
Played it at all.
I'm disappointed. Yeah, like I bought the game. I really enjoyed it. I bought it on, first of all, I played it on, I believe it was a 360. Had a great time. It was really good to see, because I remember South Park games from like the early days, from when obviously that they're in their first a few seasons and they're coming out like on Dreamcast and like a PlayStation and that, where Trey and Matt weren't involved in them in like any way or shape or form. They're all just rubbish party games. But obviously, when A Stick of Truth was first said, this is coming out, I was really excited, and I went and bought it, and I thought it was brilliant. As much as people sort of got a bit hung up on like the turn-based thing, and the fact of the matter is, when you actually think about what they tried to do, and obviously tried to make a playable sort of like episode of South Park, you can see why they went down the turn-based route. Like I thought the humor was a genius. You can appreciate that Trey and Matt also sort of are gamers at heart. You can tell that because of obviously like all the in jokes and stuff. I'm really looking forward to the Fractured Butthole. I'm probably going to be there day one. That's pretty much where I am with that.
Yeah, I mean the turn bases will put me off because I really don't like turn based combat. But
snob, that's what you are.
I know. But it's I played a little bit of the first one. It was hilarious. So maybe if the combat looks fun, I might pick it up just for the humor.
I have to admit I didn't buy it because I have to admit, and there was no point where I sat through the game and gone, oh god, tell you what, a turn-based battle system is really a good fun. I'm having really good. There were times where it occasionally challenged me, and every now and again, like I had to think about things, but on the whole, it wasn't too hard, and there wasn't any times during the battling I had a fun, but it was just obviously like walking around a South Park, doing all the collectibles, doing like the missions and like all the dialogue and all like the humor that they put into it, and all like the Easter eggs and stuff. That's the part. Well, for me, I found really fun. I didn't sit there and go. I sort of, after I finished the game, I got, oh, that. I walked away going, that game was really funny, and it's like the funniest one that I've played. I didn't walk away from it going, oh, I really enjoyed playing it.
Yeah.
Right, if that makes sense. So as much as the battle system, I'm sort of keen to see how it changes. Obviously, it's a lot more movement based, even though it is still a turn based. There's still a positioning and all that kind of stuff. So they've put some new bits into it, and I'm kind of interested to see how it's moved on. But for me, why I'm buying the game is not for the turn based system. I'm buying it for the humour.
Yeah, well, we'll find out on October 17th.
Also, the name of that game, like, for real, that's just
It's
a
just
genius
genius,
name.
It's so
like,
good.
I wonder who, like, just the aha moment when somebody was like, you know what we should call it? Someone's just like, Fractured Butthole, and they're like, oh my goodness, yes, this is amazing. They're like, just write, I picture they just wrote it on a whiteboard, and then they're like, okay, that's cool, and they're like, oh, okay, yep, okay, I see it now.
This is happening.
So it's just a great name. But a little, I guess, a weirder piece of news is a piece of equipment that has come out for streamers this week. I feel like they announced it and launched it at the same time, if I'm not correct. But Alistair, did you want to talk about that?
Yeah, well, this sort of came out of nowhere, really. I mean, I don't really have my ear to the ground in terms of equipment for streaming, but it just came out of nowhere, and it's the Elgato Stream Deck. It looks like an awesome piece of software. Obviously,
Hardware.
Software, hardware. What's the difference, Rob? One Viagra, that's it.
About 6 inches.
Just thought I'd correct you. I thought I'd like stop you in mid-flow. That's what I thought I'd do.
You love to stop me mid-flow, don't you?
That's
what turns my hardware into a software.
I just queue them up and you just knock them out of the park. That's pretty much how we roll.
with the greatest team that exists. But, it's like basically what it is one of those. It's if you've done any music, it's kind of like a soundboard type thing, and it's got the LCD screens. There are 15 LCD screens. All of them are customizable, and they can do up to 210 different actions, which is like ridiculous. And you can basically, at a push of a button during the stream, you can change screens, you can like end your stream, you can tweet that you're doing something, you can overlay like memes, sounds, images, videos over your stream. So it basically just gives you that extra edge, makes it a hell of a lot easier for you. And it's basically just $150 US to put memes on your stream, which is mixing board. That's what it's called, the music thing. I was trying to think for ages, and I was like, soundboard doesn't sound right. But yeah, it's basically just a mixing board for streaming, and it's compatible with Twitch, OBS. There are some other ones, and Type Stream, which I mean I've never heard of, but apparently it's compatible with that. It's not. I mean, it's out, it's there. It's had a secret test period where it gave it out to streamers who kind of went through it, gave back their feedback, and they've been tweaking it throughout that period. So it's pretty much come out with most of its initial bugs fixed, which is great. And apparently it just works incredibly well. And if you're a streamer, amateur or professional, apparently it makes your life a hell of a lot easier.
For you, those of you that are listening, just look this thing up because it seriously looks sweet. Like, it's 15 individual LCD screens on this little tiny box, basically, that would just sit on your desk, and they're all programmable, so you can just put whatever picture you want on there, basically. So it just looks really, really cool and really, really clean. And coming from Elgato, who makes like a really high quality already capture device now, is just like a great add-on to their list of products for sure. I don't think it's something everybody's going to be using, but I do think it's something that a lot of big streamers will probably pick up because it'll make their life a little easier, and it's a pretty cool thing to have, at least if you're going to stream.
Yeah, for what it is, $150 is nothing. Cause it
is pretty cheap for what it is.
Yeah, it can just do so much, and for if you are sort of not even like a big streamer, but if you are a regular streamer, it just makes your streams more personable. You can communicate more with your audience, and instead of having to like open up a new tab whilst you're playing to tweet out join my stream, just hit a button, a tweet if you've set it up, then a tweet goes out saying I'm in my stream now, come join me. So in actions that used to take sort of the change of a screen, pause of your game, and take maybe 30 seconds a minute can just take 1 second, push the button, and you're not disrupting anything.
Yeah, it's a pretty impressive piece of equipment for sure. I think it really is a great piece of hardware and software, regardless of what you guys were saying earlier. It's really really well made. But the last piece of news that I want to talk about, which is kind of also pretty weird to hear come out, but also not that weird just based on who the companies are. But Destiny 2 has announced that it will be coming to Battle.net. I saw this on Facebook with Blizzard basically tweeting out like, hey, we're partnering with Destiny 2. And I was like, what exactly does this mean? So I was live messaging everybody there. Like, if you guys were there, you saw like Aiden and I talking about it as I was like learning more about it as I was talking to them. But so Destiny 2 basically is going to come to Battle.net, which for those of you that don't know is like essentially Blizzard's platform for putting out their online games. It's similar to what's Ubisoft's called? I forget what it's called now.
Uplay.
Uplay? Yeah. Uplay. It's similar to Uplay for Ubisoft, except way better and works actually. So basically the reason I'm excited about this is because every game that has released on Battle.net has been like a great launch of a game. Like if you ever see games that launch like on Steam, like what's the last one I can think of is like Quantum Break, where it was just kind of like broken at launch, like it just didn't work on PC, but they put it out anyways. That's what I worry for Destiny 2 because it's going to be coming to PC for the first time, so it hasn't been there before. So the fact that Blizzard is getting behind it, a company that really does launches pretty well, I mean, besides usually getting like DDoSed every time they launch a game, they do a great job at the game working really well when it comes out. So the fact that Blizzard's like, yeah, we're going to put Destiny 2 on Battle.net is just like the perfect home for that game to launch on PC at least. And the screenshots that we've seen of the game being played in 4K look incredible, like so good. And with all like the stuff that's going on with it being frame rate or capped at like 30 on console for some reason, on PlayStation at least, is just weird. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that game coming to Battle.net. Did you guys have anything to add to that?
Yeah, it kind of makes a lot of sense that Destiny goes to Battle.net because isn't it made under Activision Blizzard, Destiny?
Yeah, Bungie is owned by Activision, and Activision Bungie are partnered, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and so sort of Activision Blizzard breaks down again to Activision and Blizzard. Blizzard owns Battle.net, and Activision, in a sense, owns Destiny. So I mean, they kind of.
That's all I say. Money.
Yeah, basically.
Dirty money.
I don't really understand it, so I'm not going to say much. But I know it's got something to do with money.
Yeah, basically Rob stole my thunder. Thanks, Rob, for
the two companies that print money anytime a game comes out are going to release another game which will also print money, except it's going to be on Battle.net. That is the summary of this story.
Is it like a Coke and a Pepsi saying they're going to bring out like their own sort of hybrid version, or?
If they're owned by the same company, yeah. I feel like Blizzard is kind of, they've worked so hard to kind of keep the fact that Activision own them separate, because they've got this kind of great reputation of being for their fans and making really cool games. Well, Activision is obviously the devil, apparently. So it's always kind of, even though it's Activision Blizzard, it's always just like, yeah, we're just Blizzard, we're just doing our own thing. So for them to kind of work together like this is, I guess, pretty big. And I don't know if that means anything in terms of Activision looking to make like a Steam competitor with Battle.net, or if this is just a, this makes sense. Like we can, like you were saying, Tyler, like this will be a good launch.
I think it is sort of just it makes sense because like they can't really put it on anywhere else. Like they can't put it on Uplay or EA's sort of, I think it's the Origin distribution system, because then they'll have to obviously give money to a competitor. And if they put it on Steam, then Steam takes a chunk of every game sold. So Activision's just like, listen, Blizzard, we're technically part of the same tree here. If we put it on Battle.net, you are going to get money, we're going to get money. We'll all go to the bank laughing whilst everyone else burns in a hole.
All the tree people.
Exactly, all the tree people.
Live in the trees.
The Ewoks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
They
So,
can all be in the
it is-
same tree.
I do wonder if it's like that, or if Blizzard saw the game and was like, yeah, this is a game that we can get behind, and they're like, yeah, we'll put this game on Battle.net, or if it was Activision just being like, hey, Blizzard, you're going to put this game on your platform. I want to hope it's the first one, and Blizzard's like, this game is so good that it's going to need to go on Battle.net, and not like Activision's like, hey, Blizzard, you have to put this game on Battle.net, you don't have a choice. So...
Yeah, I wonder if that means if maybe we'll see Call of Duty one day
Yeah, 'cause I
appearing
think,
on.
please
Battle.net.
no.
I think Blizzard did say they might consider more Activision titles for Battle.net. I don't know whether that was just we kind of have to say this, so let's keep the dream alive.
Yeah. I hope that Call of Duty never shows up on Battle.net, but it's probably going to happen sometime in the future. But yeah, that's pretty exciting to hear that it's coming to Battle.net. It's a game that I'm actually pretty excited for, even though I didn't play Destiny 1. It's one that I felt like the barrier to entry was too high, so I just kind of waited, and I'm hoping to jump in on the second one. And it being on Battle.net is perfect because that's already where I play Heroes of the Storm and Overwatch currently. So it's something I'm pretty excited for. But did you guys have anything else to add to that at all?
Yeah, just like I think I read that Battle.net, like having Destiny on that means that you can link sort of the Destiny 2 console and PC together. So like someone on a console could play with somebody on the PC. So yeah, that's an option that they could go with, similar to what they did with Portal 2, and also that they can move characters like the same, like some person's character from the PC to the console, like what they did in Diablo 3. So if they do go along with Battle.net and they do have all these options, it means there's a huge interconnectivity between console and PC, and just opens up the game a lot more.
Yeah, and I think that's important with how Destiny 2's characters work. It would be huge to basically just be able to transfer those characters in between whenever you want to play them and wherever you want to play them. So that's a huge mechanic if they can get it to work on Blizzard, on Battle.net. So, and I think they will have it working, which is why they're going to put it on Battle.net. So it's something that's super exciting, and I can't wait to see what that's going to look like when it finally launches. But yeah, that was a lot of news to talk about, a lot of big things that we covered today. So I think we will wrap up there. Thank you guys for joining me. It was a great time.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tyler.
Thanks, Paddy.
That was really creepy. I am not keeping that in the final
wonderful
version.
time.
Salad fingers. Who was that?
It was the
But thank you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in to episode 2. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll keep pumping these out. So come and check out the rest of our content. You can see it all at twistedbar.com. The guys that are here actually are doing One Life reviews on YouTube. You should check them out because they're actually really well done and they look really, really nice. You guys just released episode 3 today, right?
Yes.
So yeah, you should check that out. Check that out
Got
on
nothing
YouTube.
to add to that. Yes.
It's just like,
It's a
yep,
video.
yep,
you'll watch.
it's there. Videos, YouTube, go.
I mean, it speaks
Just,
for
just
itself.
look up
really.
Twisted Part. Yeah, they're really good though, for real. So go and check them out. And you can check out the rest of our content on twistedbar.com. But thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.